Mark Angle,
Okay.
welcome to the podcast, brother.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate
It's
to
an
be
honor
here.
to have you on, man. I was looking through the stats, some eye-popping stats. 4-time Whippeal champ, 5-time Fargo champ. We'll get through all of them, but man, let's start at the beginning. Angle household growing up. Tell me about the parents. Tell me about the home life. Like, what'd your folks do? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was I was in the middle of four sisters, so there was never a time where we didn't have workout partners. They were rotating in on me, especially as I got to like 10, 11, 12. I had a sister a year older and 2 years older, so they were like the main partners if needed. Rolled the mats out during Christmas. Many holidays, there were some mats in the dining room, and just to get some work in for sure. But yeah, it was early on, man. It was wrestling was pretty much way of life there. I started when I was, I think, 6, so um, it was and really early on, it was intense, like early on, and um, people always talk about like what my kids doing, like cartoons and stuff. I'm like, man, I didn't watch any of that stuff. Saturdays we were getting after it, tournaments, and I don't remember many afternoon, like weekends that we were sitting home watching cartoons, doing anything like that. So it was pretty intense early on, right up through, and yeah, it was good. It's all I knew really, and we didn't year round started probably like in fifth, sixth grade. So I
No,
was
really.
still doing some baseball stuff and some soccer and stuff. But to that point where right before, I'd say junior high, maybe, pretty much, 10 months a year, we were trying to get after it and putting everything else aside. So, but it was good. It was intense. And my dad was the driving force, man. He was my coach. He was, my uncle Kurt started later on, like sixth, seventh grade. So we were kind of at the same time when we started.
So
So
Kurt's
my
an
dad,
uncle.
he's an uncle. He's my dad's youngest brother. They're like 15, 16 years apart. So it's a big gap. And I'm only
Wow.
like 9 years from Kurt. So he's more like an older brother. I had no brother. So, he's like an older brother, but we kind of started at the same time. So, but my dad was his workout partner all the way till we went to college. So he was really the driving
Oh,
force behind
your
our
dad's a
success for sure.
beast, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah.
So you start at a young age and you're going year round. Kurt's coming up at the same time. Now, your dad, was he a wrestler?
He did. He was really good. I'm not sure. He freestyle. I know he was real good at freestyle. I think he won freestyle states one year. Went to Arizona State on a scholarship, and then ended up moving back home and starting working in the union. So never really got to live out, but he was probably as good as any of us for sure.
Wow. So
Yeah.
he comes back. He's in union carpentry, and then you guys get going. And so you said it was rough, man. Like, what were some of the early memories? Like, it's stuff probably couldn't get away with now, or what?
No, no way. Because I went to a Catholic school for I think all my sisters till we moved to Canonsburg where I didn't go to high school. And there was, I think, first, second grade, I was getting pulled into the office because my head was down at lunch and they're like wondering why I'm not eating. So,
Oh,
we had some
first,
meetings there,
second grade.
and I was trying to explain, I got a tournament tomorrow. So it was more, on myself doing it.
Right.
But yeah, it was different. I was the only kid not so much eating lunch every day. So, but yeah, just yeah, there were some, there, there were some times we had to cut some weight late at night. It involved a sauna and a little army base we had to climb into. They're not available as much now. Way easier to get in saunas now, but back in the day, there was a
Army
little
base.
yeah, a little army reserve base. Our one coach was a part of, so we had to sneak in a few times late night. Me and a few boys. I think we were like 9 or 10 to cut some weight for the PIAA state. So
Wow.
definitely some memories we talk about still. So
Was your mom
yeah,
an
but
athlete?
she no, not so much an athlete. No, she was great support system, but four sisters and myself, so she kind of held it all together. So, but no,
Okay.
she's awesome. But yeah, not so much on the athletic side for her.
And we're talking 80s where, youth sports is really popular, but we're not talking anything about, balance or like the health. So this is just the Wild West, man. And this is a great era because right around this era, Alan Freed's going on his run. And I don't know
Yeah,
if he was the same age as you, was a little bit older than you, probably a little bit older than you, right? When he went to
yeah,
Fargo, because he
yeah,
won
yeah.
four.
He won four. Yeah, and that's the one I lost in the finals my junior year. I could have matched him, but I also had 2 cadets in that time too, so it would have been nice. Alan's awesome. We got to train together. My coach in college, Tony Perler, was really tight with him, an old teammate. So I got to know Alan pretty well, and he's a good dude, man. But yeah, he's a
Tony
beast for
Perler
sure.
was your coach in college. I didn't know that.
For I think my last 2 years he was. Yeah. So Tony come over from Oklahoma, and then yeah, he coached me for a couple years, which is kind of neat because he left Michael Lightner, who we were always battling for NCAA titles. So it was kind of, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Tony was a good guy to have in my corner for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and it was crazy too that I was looking through the records. One of your teammates, you went up to 141, and then he
Yeah,
transferred, and you almost wrestled him in the wrestlebacks, bro.
it was wild. He got hurt my sophomore year. I jumped to 141 and did real well. Had made a real good run. Just lost to a guy I'd beaten early, end up fourth, and then coming back my junior year, we both were ranked. They had like a ranking out preseason. Chris and myself were both number 1, but from Clarion. So we did wrestle off. It was like 2 overtime matches. I mean, it could have went either. He was really good, man. And then he ended up transferring to Central Michigan. And I think my junior year at State College, we were seeded 1-2, and we both got upset in the semis, or else we were hoping to meet in the final. We were both undefeated time, both lost to. I lost to Lightner, he lost to Schwab, and then we didn't. I don't think we ended up wrestling at all. We did at Midlands the one year, but that was about it. Yeah,
That's so
Chris is solid.
crazy, though. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't think
yeah, it
of
was wild.
Clarion of having two guy. I mean, maybe you did back then, but like just like that's so
Yeah,
loaded. Like, and that was your
yeah,
wrestle off.
yeah. And that whole the reason I went there because I was recruited at Penn State, Oklahoma State. They
Oh,
were
you could
like
have
my
gone
other two.
anywhere.
Yeah, and I wanted to stay there, because at the time we had Sheldon Thomas, NCAA champ there, 3-time All-American. We had Brian Stiles, a 4-time All-American, up heavier. Then we had a guy, Bob Crawford, who was a 4-time Pennsylvania State champ, who I was coming in to pretty much compete with there. Tom Tomio was an All-American weight above me. So and then
Damn.
Chris, Chris, so all in the lower weights, we had a pretty good crew there. And Rob Eider, he was an Olympian in '96. So he was really, really instrumental in me getting, my success there as well. So we had a real good crew there. Bunch of All-Americans and some really good coaches. So, yeah, it was kind of little small school,
Yeah. How
but
far
it
did you
was
grow up from there?
not far. It was like I grew up just south of Pittsburgh, pretty much Pittsburgh area. It's like an hour and a half drive.
Okay. I'm a
Little
Chicago
quick
guy.
shot.
I
Okay,
don't know
yeah,
PA that well, but
not a whole lot.
yeah. Well, I mean, I know the Whippeal, and I see that. I'm like, okay,
For
legit.
sure,
Like
for
this,
sure.
that's one of the
Yeah,
meccas, if not the best high school conference in wrestling. So,
yeah, it's
uh,
really solid.
didn't know where Clarion was at though. So it's kind of right in
Yeah,
that
it's just
area.
a little bit northeast of Pittsburgh, kind of between there and State College, which is a little bit north. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a nice little town, man. It's all wrestling. It was, it's getting back there now. They're doing pretty well there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was always going there. Kurt was like 9 years older than me, so I knew everybody up there and going to watch him for years. And then come around time where I was going, was there at Penn State. Oklahoma State was there too. I just kind of decided to stay closer to home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that your uncle wins 2 NCAA titles there as a 3-time finalist, and this is all before the
Yeah.
Olympic stuff, right? So it's like
Right. Right.
even that
Yeah.
alone is a Hall of Fame career, right? 3-time NCAA
No
finalist
doubt.
is insanely
No
rare.
doubt. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, do you have memories of watching him and was it 91,
It
93,
was. It was
92?
yeah, I think 91, 92, or 92, right in that stretch. Yeah, see, I was always wrestling in our state, so I never actually went to an NCAA tournament until I was in college, but always following where it worked out. I think he was, yeah, it was a week apart or so, but yeah, I always remember, I went to a lot of his meets and stuff like that, but never NCAAs. But yeah, he was, yeah, always right there. And a guy he had beaten, I think, his senior year was a guy from my high school, Sylvester Turkey. So we were always, kind of keeping tabs on him. He's, really, he's a beast too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was always fun and kind of like a level ahead. I was like coming into high school, he was getting out of college. So it was kind of pretty good for, of course, my dad had him wrangling up all his teammates to beat up on me for all those years. So, um,
Dude.
it was a pretty good situation, but it was, yeah, learn from the best. So Kurt was really good bringing some clinicians in. It's not like nowadays. They have clubs everywhere now, and a lot of instruction, a lot of competition, especially in PA. Back then, it really wasn't like that. So we did our best to get. Kurt was real instrumental bringing some of his college guys in and
Mm-hmm.
getting some hookups there for some instruction and some training.
Think about how crazy that is that someone of your caliber in high school only went to the NCAAs once you were in college. Like
Yeah,
now kids are
yeah.
going at like 9 years old.
Already, yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's yeah, because it's eye opening the first time you're there, and all the chants and stuff, Iowa, it's pretty cool, man. But yeah, that's why I was telling you I didn't go until I was actually competing there. So, but yeah, what an event.
Yeah, it's amazing. Now tell me
Yeah.
about when you started your first time out at Fargo, and now you're starting to win some real titles. Had you won a bunch of like PA junior titles and you knew you were pretty good, or like talk to us about that
Yeah.
transition?
Yeah. I think I took third one year, and a guy Kerry Colette had won seven. I think I won six and took a third. So yeah, I was there, but like these competitions now they have like all these Super 32 and all that. We didn't have any of that. So really, I knew I was pretty good, but I didn't know where I was at. And then our first year at cadets, I actually wrestled Cody Sanderson like in the is set up different, pool wrestling, and then the final,
Yeah,
meet up with your guys. So I wrestled him pretty much to get into the finals, and I didn't really read. My dad obviously read all the USA wrestling. That's all we had back then, man. No
yeah.
internet or anything. So he had knew about Cody and the Sandersons already. So, but I beat him, and then I got to the final, and then once I won that one, how it's set up now. I'm sorry, back then that was like early July, and then late July, I had won the junior PA states too to qualify for the junior nationals as well. So I wrestled cadets early July and then juniors late July, and you know, and even after winning the cadets, I knew I could compete there, but where would I be? And I ended up wrestling, really getting on a roll there pretty well, and then I wrestled a guy in the finals who I think he won the year before, Tyson Rondo. He was a senior, I was a freshman, then upset him pretty decent, and from there the next year did the same thing, and um, it
Wow.
ended up just starting from there. So really, I was telling one buddy that I didn't win a PA state title. I think I won four Fargo titles before I won a Pennsylvania PIAA state title. Just some bad luck and some injuries and stuff, but yeah, it
Wow.
was. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
So that's crazy that the cadet and junior tournaments were separated like that, and you could do both. So
yeah,
you go
yeah.
to cadets, and then right away you win Fargo in the junior category. Did you ever not win Fargo in the junior category?
My junior year, I lost to a guy who I'd beaten the two previous years. This guy from Missouri, Scott Chaps. I beat him for the cadet title, my first cadet, and then I beat him the juniors the next year, and then he had beaten me for the final at my
Okay.
junior. Then my senior, I ended up wrestling Cody Sanderson again there. So yeah, I took second the one year, but other than that, I had won every other one.
Dude, that's insane. I mean, at that point, that hadn't happened many. Like to be a four-timer, would you have been the second one?
Yeah, and I like I was saying, I don't know if Alan did wrestle the cadets. I think, but yeah, I would have. I knew all about Alan at that point. I haven't met him yet, but that's kind of what.
I don't even know
Obviously,
if
that
they
was
had that
people.
cadet tournament then. Like they
I
may
was
not
wondering
have.
that too. Yeah, they
Yeah.
might not have at all because yeah, it was like I remember it was right around the 4th of July, and then we do another training camp for PA juniors and then wrestle juniors. So it was a busy
Wow.
time there. But yeah, it was
And so are
definitely
you
nice.
starting to have like dreams of like becoming an NCAA champ, Olympic champ, or is it so much like your dad's dream you were just kind of following his lead, like, or were you kind of taking it on yourself?
Yeah, I think early on probably he had the vision, but once I start winning these titles, that was obviously the goal,
Yeah.
no doubt. And yeah, the NCAA, right up through and NCAAs, it's just I never, every year I beat the guy who I beat a month earlier, end up upsetting me in the semi. So
Those
it was
brackets were
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it's just my sophomore year, I was seeded two. Mark Ironside was one, and it was really I was wrestling really well at the time, and I was kind of not newer, but no, people hadn't seen me as much, and I was running through some people pretty good, and really looking forward to that bout. And then I got upset by a guy 10-9 who I had beaten pretty handedly a month earlier. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that's how it goes sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but, you
Now, when
know,
you're coming through high school, you mentioned folk style wise, when you were at Cannon McMillan, you ended up
mhm.
winning state one time your senior year. What kind of
Yeah.
injury did you have your junior year,
Well, my sophomore year,
sophomore
the
year?
first, even yeah, I had an injury too. My first round, we wrestled a guy from Erie Cathedral Prep, real good guy. Went out of bounds. right when we come back, he low single and blew through my ankle, tore like 3 ligaments, fractured it. So I end up taking him down, end up barring him up, pinning him. But the next morning, man, I couldn't even put my shoe on. So I did try to go out and wrestle, but had a default out. And then the
Yeah.
junior year, I had a little cartilage injury like in February. It was like a buccal tear, so they had to repair it and take it out. So I was able to come back like 2 weeks later for the like sections, regionals, all that. And then the day before states, it was a Tuesday. Um, we were just drilling. My right one had been giving me trouble, the cartilage again, and I was just drilling a stand up and it locked up on me. I couldn't get it back in play. I couldn't get the cartilage to flip back, so I was out that year too. So I didn't lose either of those years except for that default. But yeah, just never. People saw me on
Dude,
crutches again the next year, like, oh my goodness, this dude.
that would have broke
Just the
most
luck.
people. Did that kill your spirit, or like was Fargo so important to you that that was okay?
Yeah, I was ready, just trying to get ready for Fargo. That it wasn't, because my freshman year, I was able to wrestle Cadet Worlds as well. So I took silver out there. So I was, really looking for that was really not that I mean, obviously it was a concern to win a PIAA state title, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like I figured it would happen at some point.
Man.
You
And
know.
so senior year, when you finally got it done, what was that moment like?
Yeah, it was just something that, I went through pretty decent. So it wasn't, nothing too crazy. I was just ready to, get on with it really, you know.
And then how many different colleges? You said Penn State, Clarion. Like, where were you actually considering? Oklahoma State?
Yeah, those were like the three, for sure. And really, the whole time growing up, I was going to go to Penn State, like for sure, for sure. But then Clarion, of course, with Kirk being there, he kind of gave me, kind of influenced me a little bit there. And then, at the time, John Fritz was there, Troy Southern. They were great. A lot of buddies up there and guys I trained with before. So, um, but they didn't offer me a full scholarship, and I kind of was, kind of taken back by it a little bit. And then they did afterwards, but I already committed to Clarion, so probably a little immaturity on my end, but
Mm-hmm.
I everyone else was, so I was like, I'm just gonna, if they would have, I don't know, probably would have went there, I think, but like I said, a little immaturity on my part at that, thinking about that because they got a team to compete with, and really, if I would have been on that team my junior year, and even if I would have taken third again, I think we would have probably won.
Mm-hmm.
They had a real like Pritzloff there, Jamar Billman, Jeremy Hunter. We had a real good crew there. They had a good crew
Jamar
there for
Billman,
sure.
I forgot about that name.
Yeah, he was a stud.
Man.
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
So when
Clint
was
Musser, yeah, the whole
Clint Musser
deal.
was there? Okay.
He took a second that year too. So yeah, they had a good run.
When was Cole at? Like 4 years before you, or
Yeah,
okay.
pretty much exactly. And he was we were, my dad and him and his dad were friends. So every summer, man, he had put some whoopings on me. Like he was the guy, his training and his drilling and it just how he competed. That's what I took a lot of. Just tried to mimic what I was doing, especially his drilling and how intense. It wasn't just like okay, let's just warm up and do some shots. It was like a full-fledged workout. I mean, 20 minutes and you can't even walk. Like this dude was training like no other. That's where I really learned a lot from Kerry for sure.
And you were drilling with him in the summers, like going up and because
Yeah,
his
we were training, drilling. We weren't too far from each other. Jeff Morgan is where he went, which is like a half hour from Cannon Mac. So it's fortunately we were pretty close. So
man.
plus he had some good teammates as well, some younger guys around my age. So, but yeah, in the summers, especially camps and things, we got together quite a bit.
Well, his in that Flow documentary, it's one of my favorite ones, and they talk
Crazy,
about
right?
his dad using the cattle prod in the living room. He's like, I'm tired of seeing you not get up from bottom, so every time you don't, you get a zap. And I'm like, God, that's what we're talking about here, folks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and that was real. Did you ever see the cattle prod?
I was never, never got to see that, but I
You
saw
see
enough
that?
as I saw the results, of his his discipline. So yeah, no, I never saw that. Yeah, they never
Did you
brought
see
that
that
out. So,
documentary on Flow?
oh man, crazy. Yeah, one of my
Crazy.
favorite as well, man. Yeah,
God, what
yeah,
happened
just
to
this
him?
whole story, man. It was everything. That was just crazy how it happened again and again at the international
Mm-hmm.
level. That's sad, man. Crazy.
It is sad.
You
It's
know?
like it doesn't even make sense that they could change the matches like that after when
Yeah.
it happened so many times.
insane, man. Yeah, and really, you're coming back to wrestle in the World Finals, and you got to re-wrestle, top caliber. I mean, that's insane to even think that happened
Mm-hmm.
multiple times, So
Yeah.
obviously, there's some rules now. I think probably as a result of that. I mean, things have changed. It's wrestled right there. That's crazy.
Well,
You
it's
know,
like the wrestlers know, but like the common wrestling fan, like you could easily be saying Kerry Cole at 4-time world champ, 3-time world
no
champ,
doubt. I tell people
Olympic
all
gold
the time.
medalist.
No doubt about it. One of the best ever,
Yeah.
hands down. Yeah, for sure.
So when you would go up there and drill with him in the summers, um, you take from it the intensity, and then was it a lot of like cross training or more like wrestling training?
Oh, it was full on wrestling,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, the drilling where I learned my drilling and um, just the precision and the intensity it was just insane. It's like these shots were exactly the same every single time, his fakes and shots, and it was insane. And as soon as you hit the mat, like you better, he's going to run you if you're not up again. So it was, and really, my old teammate in high school, I was able to get him to, he bought into it and was real good drill. He's actually the head coach of Canada Mac, Brian Krenzlak. He was awesome my senior year. We were drilling like, I needed that, because it's hard to get a high school kid, hey man, this is how we're gonna drill, especially
Mm-hmm.
sitting in school day and then you're gonna do that. And then we had to wrestle our live after that. So it was hard to get somebody to buy in to even thinking about doing that. That's how intense this drilling was. But I picked up a lot from it, man. And
No, I'm sure.
yeah, it's like no other like ever seen.
Do you say you were wrestling an hour live back in those days?
Oh,
Most.
we had some yeah, we had some long ones there. We had some tough ones. Yeah.
Man, it's
Yeah.
like, do you feel like things have changed a lot in terms of like the philosophy of coaching and training kids in high school, or maybe not as much, but it seems like it has a little bit.
Sure thing. I mean, I sure think so. Yeah, I think it just everything. It's kind of coming around to that. I think, but yeah, I think philosophy wise, it's probably changed quite a bit from how we used to. I still remember my junior year when I lost in the Fargo finals. And remember, we trained like our butt off all year. My legs were still sore from our running from that junior national camp. My in the
No,
finals, I still remember like my legs are still sore, like to touch. And
that's
this was
overtraining.
after
That's too
way
much.
right? Like, and then because me and Teague Moore were always roommates there, and he like we had ties like, dude, this is too much. We got to wrestle a national tournament like in a few days, and there was a little bit of pushback, but it was just
What are you gonna
just
do?
plug away. But
Yeah.
yeah, I still remember my junior. I'm like, man, my legs are sore to touch, and really, it's not like we're just sitting around for months. Like we're getting after it every day, and still to have them that sore, it was a little bit of like you're saying overtraining a bit. I'd say,
Well, that's a
you
good
know.
point. Like if your baseline is already very fit, to get
Hmm.
like, yeah, because like, yeah, the only time you get sore really is like if you don't work out for a couple months, you come back the
Right.
first week back, you're like, I can't move.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
you guys were already in peak prime shape.
And then being sore. And we had this hill at our training camps all through my high school were at Clarion,
Okay.
um, for the cadet and junior. So we had this big hill that we used to run up. So we were doing that, I'm sure that played into it, but it was full fledged till we left on the bus. And I still
Man.
remember like, man, sort of touch that stuff. Don't It shouldn't happen that much,
And you were
but yeah, I
roommates with
think
Teague?
velocity changed. Oh, all the time. We were tight
What a
roommates. All
legend.
what a beast, right? Yeah, we grew up pretty much. We lived together in the summer sometimes and trained all the time. And yeah, what a beast, man. That's one of my best friends for sure.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, we're super tight. Yeah,
I gotta
yeah,
get
for
him
sure.
on. He's
Yeah,
he's
he's awesome. Yeah, Teague's my man for sure.
I
And his
had
older brother Ty was one of the biggest PA legends ever. A four-time state champ, Ty Moore. He was like one of the meanest dudes ever. You got to look into
really.
him. Yeah,
I
he hadn't
will.
passed away a few years back, but he is. Yeah, that at North Allegheny team that wrestled St. Ed's in the late '80s, Ty was a mainstay in there. So,
Man, it's
but
funny you
T
say
and Ty
that
were awesome.
because just the other day, I was messaging someone and they're like, you should look into the North Allegheny coach. Cause Larry Ferguson's super famous, or Howard Ferguson's super famous, right? From St. Ed's, and
Right, right.
Ben Hada, who went to Penn and went to St. Ed's, he's doing a documentary on Ed's versus Walsh right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
someone messaged me, they're like, bro, before Ed's Walsh, you gotta look at
yeah,
Ed's North Allegheny.
yeah.
And I'm
Late
like, well,
80s, that was
yeah.
it. Yeah, it's crazy. There was
I'm
one
like,
and
who
two in the
coached?
country.
Really?
Yeah.
Go, keep going. Yeah, yeah. So
It was, yeah, it was one and two in the country, and there was just guys up and down the lineup like Rich Kedler, Ray Brinzer, Ty Moore. And on the other side, they were loaded as well. And but yeah, guy Gus DiAgostino was the all-time coach there all through those years. But they had some teams there, North Allegheny, all through the '80s into the early '90s. They were like the best for sure. But those two teams, that's before like internet and all this stuff. Now imagine how big it was back then. Imagine what it'd been like now, even to do that. But
yeah,
and then
right.
yeah, they all Walsh, St. Ed's, they always were always still are really good.
But North Allegheny is not a name that rolls off the tongue in that same sentence unless you know from the day or unless you're from PA. So like I was excited to learn about that. And first thing I said is that coach still around, and unfortunately he's not. But
Right, right,
like I'd love to get someone from that North Allegheny era just to talk about it, because it's just come again from Illinois, you don't always hear about these great PA legends from the 80s and
right,
90s. And
right.
um
Yeah, that one year, I think they had five PIAA state champs that junior senior year of Ty Moore. So out of 13 weight in PA AAA, that's pretty impressive. So,
yeah.
but yeah, they they were the school back then, man, for sure. They still
Yeah.
have a good program, but I mean, they were top in the country. Them in St. Ed's, year after year for their late '80s, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. And so Teague Moore, his brother was on those teams, and so you're
Yeah,
roommates with him. And okay, I mean the names we're talking about here. I mean these are legendary names. Jamar Billmans you mentioned earlier. It's like, who were some other guys on those PA teams that you were coming up with?
well, people still hear about. I mean, the Joneses were beasts, man. Burtis, he was my age, and he had wrestled Kale Sanderson in the finals. What,
Yeah.
twice maybe? See, we wrestled an all-star meet. The NWCA All Star Meet. Now, back then, it was in February. It was like the first weekend of February, right around the Super Bowl. So the one year was out in Oklahoma State. Teague wrestled Abbas, I wrestled Lightner, and Vertus wrestled Kale. And this one, freshman, they had a really tight match. It was like 6-5. They had a scramble at the end. So, but a year later, that's how good Kale is. A year later, it was, definitely one sided. But Vertus, that's how good he is. He was talented, quick, one of the best I've ever been around. And then obviously his brother Greg was a
Greg is
beast, three-time
insane.
NCAA champ, and still involved in the fight run. He's one of the baddest dudes out there still right now.
Oh,
Greg Jones, but
definitely.
you know what I mean. But
That's
yeah, that was. I tell
yeah.
people all the time, like Vertus, almost, he was seconds away from beating Kale, but obviously Kale was the best ever. But that's how good I'm saying Vertus talent wise. He was a beast competing with Kale.
Mm-hmm.
That was our junior year, and Kale was only a freshman at that point. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I know that's
yeah,
that name is Greg Jones, 3-time NCAA champ. And I had him on the podcast. It's like you look at his stats and you go on the record, or his record book, it's like he barely lost any matches. It's like
yeah.
insane, dude. It's
It's it. Yeah,
I
he
mean,
was that good, man.
same with you though, bro. You look at your college records, like 40-1, 40-2. Like, what do you think about the match counts now? Like, do you think that we're wrestling too little? Were you wrestling too much? What do you think?
You know what? I think the schedule is similar, but I was always getting after it early on in tournaments whenever I could. So, um, it's just what I felt comfortable doing. I wanted to wrestle as much as possible, really.
Yeah.
I think it's good, in ways to kind of limit it. I know Penn State sometimes they only have 20 matches going in, but look what they're doing. I mean, they're the best, right? For sure. So definitely some probably benefits to both, I guess. Depending knowing your team, I know Kale knows his team well and what they need. So,
Mm-hmm.
but if you have some younger guys, maybe get them some opens and probably be beneficial that way. So that's what I did. I had like my senior, I tore my knee up pretty good. So I think I only had like in the 30s, but every other year I was pushing 50 almost. So
Yeah, I
and
got
it's
him
such a
here.
long season, man. It's a long season, so you stretch it all the way from so yeah, it is nice to have some gaps in there probably without cutting the weight in competition. Now the weight, obviously guys aren't killing themselves to make the weight and can't. So it's probably way better for the sport, I think, than when we were coming up through there. So but yeah, I think depending on the team, I think it's pretty good because like I said, it's a long season to have to compete every weekend, that gets kind of tough. So.
And you guys were in that era where, again, there wasn't any mention of like overtraining or recovery yet. Like, I think Gable was so successful and everyone kind of mirrored that
That's
just
it.
punishing style. And then now
Yeah.
Kale's super successful and he's doing the opposite. So I hope all
Yeah.
these, and I think it's probably working, right? All these kids clubs are like, they're not busting kids' asses anymore like as hard as they used to.
That's
right?
it, man. No, 100%. Yeah, you didn't hear a lick of overtraining back then, but as we get closer nowadays, I think it definitely they know what they're doing, and
Yeah.
you could see the benefits of it for sure, especially what Kale's doing there. So, but yeah, there was there was no overtraining at all. I mean, the only thing you would get a break the day before, you maybe not wrestle a whole lot alive and just make your
Yeah.
weight. But other than that, 2 days before you're getting, I mean, especially when we were in high school and even in college, a lot of college I kind of did to myself, but it's just what I knew, I guess, just training day before, maybe a little bit, but if I don't go super hard the day before, I'm thinking, well, I could have probably done a little bit more that day, so, but yeah, just what you're used to, I guess, and what you brought up, believing in. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely better nowadays.
What about the weight cutting back there? Like, how hard of a pull is it for you to get down to 134?
Oh man, I was thinking about this earlier. So I redshirted my redshirt freshman year. I was trying to make 126, and I was like top 8. But I'm telling you, my one loss. I wrestled this guy Mike Mena in duel. We wrestled in that national duels Clarion did out, and I forget where it was, but it was like a tournament. It's a full 16 team tournament, so it wasn't like I had kind of have now. So we wrestled Iowa the first match, and I made the weight there. That was my only loss in college for a dual meet. He ended up doing that roll through, catching me and beat me by a few there. And but after that, we tried to make it again, and I really couldn't make it after that. And one time, the next tournament after that national dual tournament, yeah, I mean, I literally almost died. I was in the sauna with the rubber suits on. We were leaving for, I think it was the conference tournament, that PSAC tournament. And they yanked me out of there. 126.8 I was the day before, and I come back next morning still the same weight and couldn't sweat. And then they yanked me out. My heart was like 21 times a minute beating. So yeah,
How
pump me
miserable
fluid.
was that sleep that night, bro?
I didn't. Yeah, I still remember. There was a game on, some college game, and I'm sitting there miserable. I think it was a college basketball game, and I'm miserable. Was trying to sleep, and I couldn't sleep. It was the worst.
Oh my
So I got up real early and tried. I'm like, hopefully I lost like a tenth or two, and I didn't. So I'm like, I got to get this weight off. And we were leaving for that tournament that day, and so obviously I didn't make it to that tournament. And then, right after that is when those 3 guys, the 3 Division I guys, died in like 60, whatever it was. And then right there, they moved the weights up to 7 pounds, adjusted them. So I moved up from there to 141 right away, and kind of still was a little losing some weight for that. So it was, yeah, back then it was miserable. It was, guys were doing it all the time. I mean, they were cooking themselves just to make the weight. It was a little bit different. Thank goodness they changed everything, and it's better for the sport, I think, for sure. Guys could actually train and not just worry about cutting weight, because it got to the point where I trained, but then these days I really would just have to cut weight, and it wasn't, good for the sport. It wasn't good for the guy either.
You're not working on like technique or anything new. You're just trying to like keep it all within check.
Oh, exactly. Miserable as heck,
Yeah.
hating life, hating school, and yeah. So
So
yeah, a little more to it.
126.8, where were you, like, if that was like a Friday night, what were you like the Monday before? 36?
Yeah. No, I was the one Sunday, I was like 147. And that was when I was like, man, this is getting out of hand. And I just had a weekend I ate, and I'm like, I came in, I figured I'd be like 140, and I'm like, I was 147, and I'm like, man, this is not good,
That is.
And I only had 4 days, and yeah, it was tough. It was don't I remember those days for sure, but yeah, it was better. I moved up pretty much 2 weights at that point, and I was able to train, and had a real good run after that, really.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if you could train, obviously you don't want to be small for the weight, but if you could train and really train every day and just cut the weight a little bit here and there, I think that's way better.
And it's like, it's a more fun way to enjoy the sport, big
Yeah,
time. So
absolutely, man.
98, 98, you're at 134. That's when you took your first you took fourth. Did you
Right.
So that your redshirt freshman year, did you not even wrestle then because you couldn't get
I
down?
did. Yeah, I think I was ranked at the top eight, but then when I was cut, and then I had a little bit of a knee injury, which I was kind of glad I did. I got it scoped, and like my year was done. I was
Yeah,
just on to the next. So, but yeah, my right knee needed scoped. I tore it up a little bit, but nothing major. But yeah, so I didn't even compete in the postseason at that point.
got
You
it.
know.
And did I see is this the same Lee Pritz who's at Arizona State?
Yeah, yeah,
I
so,
love
yeah.
that
See,
guy.
he transferred. Oh, he's the best, right?
I
He
saw him in the
transferred
bracket
to
at
Clarion.
98.
Yeah, he transferred to Clarion when I was a sophomore, I think. So he was with us. I think he stayed around a year, but yeah, that's the
Dude,
same Lee Fritz, one of a
man,
kind.
I'm
That's my
like,
man there.
because one thing I'll do is when I pull up like the 98 NCAA bracket and I'll control after Claire and like, all right, do I know anyone on the team? And like once in a while you'll find someone and like, shit, Lee Pritz was there. Like,
Yeah,
god
yeah.
damn, love
He was
that
our
guy.
18 pounder, I think it was still at the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, Lee's awesome, man.
And then in 99, so you were at 98, you're at 134, you're a sophomore, you take fourth, 43-3 record. Insane. 99, you're a junior, you're up at 141. So is that because of the weight class got moved?
Well, that's what happened in that
Okay.
time. Yeah, they just officially moved him to 7 pounds above.
Got it.
So
Okay.
they changed them at that, but the year before, I think they just adjusted it to get through the year. But yeah, at that point, they had moved them all from 125, 33, 41, and so on. So
Got
they
it.
were
Okay.
officially changed at that point.
And then in the semis, you lose a nail biter to Lightner. I'm sure you scrapped with him a bunch, but like those, like it was you, Lightner, Schwab, Carl Perry. Like man, like
Very, yeah,
dude,
yeah.
those were
All
tough
and really,
brackets.
guys don't see. Jameel Kelly it never placed, and he was an Olympian, Olympic silver medalist. He was in all those brackets. So that dude, he was really good too. We knew it. I mean, he just somehow he never broke through as an All
That's
American, but
insane.
yeah. I mean, he was a
The
stud too.
the
But
other name
yeah,
I
for
saw in
sure.
there in 2000. So you beat Jameel Kelly, but the round before you beat an Illinois legend, David Douglas from Arizona State,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
four-time state champ, man. Like
Yeah, I wrestled him
unbelievable.
a few times through at least 2 or 3 times I wrestled him. Yeah, he was long and lanky, and
Yeah.
I remember that match because I was bad, a real bad knee injury. I was trying to make it through, and I was on top just trying to ride him because I had nothing on my feet. I had no offense, so he was a tough dude. Yeah, long and lanky, and definitely hard to
Yeah.
wrestle. Sure.
Yeah, and Jamil Kelly's in there. It's like, man, the guy from PA though, I was trying to think of the name earlier, and it just came to me. Um, the Illinois 125 pounder, Jeremy Hunter, was he around
Oh
when
yeah.
you were coming up?
Oh gosh, he went to McGuffey High School, which was a Canamac like bordering school. So we all the time we never wrestled in high. We wrestled a little bit of freestyle, but he was always a weight or two below me. But yeah, dude, he's a legend, man. PA 4 timer.
Legend, right?
Yeah, no doubt, man. Yeah. And then he went to Penn State. He was on that team I was talking about.
Yeah.
He locked his Abbas, Steve, and then he won, I think, the next year or whatever. But yes, Jeremy was a legend, man, for sure. Yeah, he's still out there now, isn't he? Illinois?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Well,
yeah,
I,
he's
I
been out
saw
there for a
Carl
while.
Perry, was from the University of Illinois. I'm like, oh, that's kind of that triggered for me. So okay, I meant to ask you about that, but yeah,
Yeah,
that just totally off topic, but going back to Teague real quick, if anyone listening wants to watch this match, watch I believe it's the 97 or 90, it's the 97 quarters or semis at UNI Dome, Teague versus Stephen Abbas, goes to
yeah.
overtime. Abbas hits this drag. I've never seen a smoother drag in my life. It's just like those matches, Teague and Abbas, God almighty.
I was me and Avis were on a tour together. Our junior years, they took a team to like Paris and Poland, and we were on the plane together. And I'm like, you remember that match in the juniors against Teague? And he sat up and he's like, did you see that? And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. He's like, Abbas was up by 3. It was in the semis of juniors, and there was only like 10 seconds left, and Teague low single right on the whistle. Abbas obviously thought it was, and it might have been a little bit, right? And then he picked it up and threed him back to his back, tied it, and then Teague scored in overtime like 10 seconds in. So he beat Abbas, and Abbas was still, he's like, do you remember? I was like, yeah, man, you guys battled all through there, man.
Wow.
But Abbas is one of the best guys I've ever
Oh,
been around, man.
dude, what a
Slick. It's
freak.
unbelievable. Yeah.
So that was
Yeah,
so
no
that was like
doubt.
at high school junior national. So and Teague beat Abbas.
That was one of those years, junior or
Yeah.
senior year. Yeah. And Abbas it was like 10-7 then, because we're right on the side, and then Teague, kind of anticipated the whistle to start, and yeah, Steve was still salty on that one. I'm like, yeah, you guys had some
Man,
battles.
I wonder
All
if anyone
true, man.
has that footage.
I know. I was thinking that nowadays, Florida, I wish some of these matches we had, because they were some battles, man.
Oh
Yeah,
my
those guys
God.
always got after it. It was probably like 94, 95. Wonder if anyone does. That would be
We'll
cool
put
one
the
to
back
find.
call
If
out
you could.
there. Anyone listening,
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
Jason Bryant seems to have his pulse on everything, but it wasn't in the. I feel weird even calling it Fargo because you guys didn't even call it Fargo yet, right?
Not really. I mean, not really. No, it was
Because
just
was it
because my
at
freshman year,
Junior
it was
Dome?
where was it? My freshman year, I think it was in Missouri somewhere, or yeah, the cadets were in Missouri. I think my freshman year of juniors was in Minneapolis, possibly, and then it went to Fargo from there after. So around 93, I think that's the
Okay.
first year it was.
So you didn't even wrestle in it when it was at UNI then, the UNI Dome?
I don't think so.
Because
No.
that was because like in the 80s it was in Iowa City, then it shifted to the UNI Dome. But yeah, and then
Yeah,
now it's just called Fargo. But yeah, your
that's it.
generation, they
Yeah.
call it juniors, you know?
Yeah, it was juniors. Yeah. Now obviously it's there all the time. Everything's there. So it's Fargo now. But yeah, it's that's when it just started. And it was pretty cool when it went there. I thought it was huge
Yeah.
place. It's pretty neat, man.
Yeah. And now are
Yeah.
you still involved? Like, do you have kids that do you coach at all? I mean, I've seen some videos of you doing clinicians out there. What's your
Yeah,
involvement now?
it's funny. My kids are 12. My boys are 11 and 12. And my daughter's 7, and they really don't wrestle much. My oldest wrestled a little bit this year, and everyone's like, "How are they not wrestling?" I'm like, "Man, wrestling's too hard to shove it down their throat." And my oldest really likes it, so we'll see how it is from here. But now
Yeah.
he's 12, and where we're at, PA and there's some studs there, so I gotta like work him in easy so he
They're
doesn't,
getting massacred out
just
there.
feed him to the
12,
right to the wolves exactly.
12 year
So
old. That's at that point.
yeah.
Yeah, these kids are like doing D1 college warm
It's
ups.
crazy, man. Yeah. But yeah, I'm still involved. I still help out with the high school program and the little kids program at Camp Millen High School. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I volunteer every chance. I'm there quite a bit. So,
that's awesome.
but yeah, they have a good crew there right now. They have a girls program that's crazy. They won the states this past year. The boys were the WPL champs. So, yeah, Coach Slack's doing some great things there, man.
It's cool to see all the academies springing up, and the Chance Marsteller one out there. I think it's called Stella Train. Dude, they're
Yeah,
making a splash on the scene. I'm a huge fan of Chance
crazy.
Marsteller.
Oh yeah, no doubt, man. No
Where
doubt.
is he in the state related to you?
He was out. I'm on the far,
Okay,
west corner, southwest corner, so he's more centrally located. But yeah, he would have stud, man. Great
dude,
story, big fan,
in
man, for sure.
JB? That's
Crazy, right?
insane.
Yeah,
God.
solid, dude. Yeah,
Well, the
yeah,
couple other things I want to ask you about, just kind of one off, was were you in Atlanta in '96 to watch Kurt win the gold?
yeah, yeah. Most of my family was down there, but yeah, we went down, and it was kind of a cool moment for sure, to say the least. But yeah,
Dude,
that was Kendall Cross won that year, and there was like 5 weeks at a time. So the days we went, I think Kendall won and Kurt won. Then the Brands won the next 2 days and stuff. So, but yeah, it was a cool event, man. Yeah, it was
wow.
definitely something to remember, because it was so crazy back then. We thought he lost because the guy, like when the refs were, kind of talking, Jadidi was there, and he was like, John, we're like, oh my gosh, and Kurt had low single, and was kind of, we're like, you gonna finish or what? And he kind of hung out, so we really didn't. That was just crazy back then. There was just referee's decision, So
It was a
and
referee's
then
decision.
yeah, so they just they conjoined, and there was no score change. So and Jadidi kept trying to raise his hand, and then the guy raised Kurt's, and it was just a crazy moment, man, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah, but
wow.
yeah, it was cool. It was definitely neat.
I mean, I just think about, we're coming up on the Worlds before the Olympics, Paris next summer, and I feel like the Olympics are just here, and
Yeah, yeah, with
to
the year after, yeah, exactly. It's a quick turnaround for sure, man.
but to watch
Yeah, I'm
like a
excited to
family member
go.
win a gold medal is like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
so rare. I mean, what a
yeah,
moment,
yeah.
and you were still wrestling, so that had to be a huge motivation.
That was early on in my college career, so that's when definitely, like I said, he was always a level or two above me, so
Right.
really it was kind of like, you know, looking ahead to what I could possibly be doing, So it was definitely good to have him there.
96 was awesome because that was when Satiev made his first Olympics and he beat Kenny Monday in the
Yeah.
quarters like bad. Now I know that wasn't the great Kenny Mundy at his best, and he had some real
Right.
weight issues, but you watch Satiev, and Satiev is my favorite wrestler. It's like that
One
was
of the
his
best
first of 4.
ever. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
he's
mean, like
flying
no
by
other, man.
people. God.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah. That was from then, and then how many years he went after. Just one
Oh
of the
wait,
best.
well,
Yeah.
insane.
Insane, right? Yeah.
Jesus.
Absolutely insane. Yeah.
And what do you look when you I mean, you came up seeing Alan Freed, the Colats, and now we're watching this great generation of PA wrestlers, and you see like guys like David Taylor. I mean, what's your take on some of these current stars we're watching?
Oh man, I think it has evolved a lot, in terms of, it's still wrestling, but what I really noticed, like Taylor, especially like his just every position. He's wrestled through every position. When he wrestled against Donnie, he's gonna make him work for. If he gives up a takedown, he's gonna make him work and work. So, a minute, 2 minutes in, he's gonna start wearing on the guy. So yeah, their scrambling ability is just insane. That's what I really noticed in the past. Or their defense, like Dake's defense. I don't even know how you take that guy down. It's insane. Like
Dude.
Burrow's on the low shot, and it's like he's this dude is unbelievable. And it's just
Yeah.
strong as hell. But yeah, I think the scramble ability and the defense these guys have is like no other. But yeah, we got some great stars right now, man.
What do you
And
think about the
Taylor's
2-point
a beast,
takedown?
man. Yeah, you know what? I saw that and I'm like, how's that? I would have probably liked it back in the day, but I don't. It'll definitely change some strategy a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be
That's a big
interesting.
change.
Big change, right? I mean, just think of if it was how many matches could have went either way back in the day. So it'll be interesting for sure. But yeah, I think we'll adapt to it, and you know,
Yeah.
if they're going to keep
Next,
it around, we'll see how it works.
we talk about all the scrambling. When they created that rule, the count where like if you're in a scramble, you
Danger,
can't be on
yeah,
your in danger, neutral danger. Yeah.
yeah.
And everyone thought that was gonna eradicate all the scumbag scramblers. They're just hanging around. Like,
Oh, front row and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know anyone. You don't really think about it now. You don't really see it that often,
No,
so
no, kind of just adapt to it and kind of work
yeah.
through it. But yeah, I'm sure that'll happen here too. But yeah, it's probably the biggest rule change I'd say in forever. In quite a while, I'd say.
I mean, I don't even know
This
what could be
3-point
close to
takedown.
it.
Not
Yeah.
even, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
So it'll be
pretty crazy.
it'll be
What last
interesting.
one on this? 2 things for you on this one. This summer I feel like I've been asking everyone about rules, so I'll keep the theme going. Push out point for folk style. Like it or love it or hate it?
See, I was taught like early on, like I even still teach guys like never give up that position, circle in, keep your back to the center. So I would probably support it more so, but see, folk style, I don't know. That's a tough one, but I'd probably more support it than most, I'd say. But I was always taught that like never, that's drilled in our head for years. And really back then we didn't even have push out points at all. So
Mm-hmm.
it was totally different, but we still were taught that. So I'd
Well, and
probably support
now
it.
some of the like if you look at some of the goofy interpretations of stalling, you can get called for stalling for pushing someone out, which
Yeah.
that to me is like I don't even that doesn't even make sense
It's
to me. I
kind of
don't.
productive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's kind of tough how
the
they
the
get
s-
into that, but
the
yeah.
scrambling with the push out it might ruin the scrambling because some of the best
Hmm.
scrambles you think about like the NCAA quarters, some guys on the edge they got a toe in, they're scrambling right and something happens. So like that would make me nervous if we lost that because I
Yeah.
love that about folk style.
That is like you see some of those scrambles, especially now that back when I was wrestling, you keep everything in. Now you just have one thing in that still creates
Yeah.
the action. I just think makes a lot more wrestling there. Because before it kind of limited where you were at. Now you can wrestle through as long as anyone has a part in. You can keep wrestling through position. But yeah, I think some of those scrambles are the best you ever seen. Really on
Yeah.
the edge of the mat there for sure.
We were rewatching, I think it was Tony Davis versus Adam Terapelli from '99, and
Yeah.
I was watching it with Mark Manning. I did a documentary on Tony Davis, Illinois legend, and Mark Manning was his coach at UNI, and we were watching that match, and he forgot the rule change, and so he's like actively coaching Tony, and he's like calling for, it is crazy to watch those matches without that out of bounds. Like
Yeah,
it's
no,
way
exactly.
different.
It's
Yeah,
way different when that
that's a
changed.
big change. That's probably the other
That's
big
huge.
change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree for sure, for sure. But yeah, it definitely changes the whole complexion of wrestling on the edge there for sure.
Well, the
Yeah.
last one we always ask folks, and it's been an honor to have you on, Mark. Thank you so much, brother.
Man, I agree. This is a lot of fun, man. Talking wrestling for sure.
What's
Appreciate it.
the podcast is called How to Wrestling Change Your Life. Someone who spent as much time in it as you, a lot of different ways you could take that. But, if you see someone at the store and they'd never wrestled and they say, why would I let my kid wrestle? Like, what did it do for you?
Oh man, you know what? I think I realize it more now that I'm a dad and, grown adult, but it shows up everything I do, even from, waking up every day, never missing work, never being late, being a good, you know, worker, coworker, boss, whatever it is. And really just being a role model for my kids. They never knew, seen me wrestle or anything like that, but they do see my work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
They know I train every day still, and with them, I try to preach, like, you could do just the bare minimum, but, and my oldest son says, I want to get better. I want to get stronger. And I tell him all the time, like, you got to put the work in. The only way I ever knew was to get better. I wasn't the strongest, the biggest, the fastest, but um, I got things done. I'm successful because I got work to everybody, so just
Mm-hmm.
that work ethic. And yeah, like I said, it shows up in everything I do pretty much, thinking about it. And yeah, just my work ethic, my dedication, my loyalty and everything. So
Yeah.
like I said, the more, older I get and now I'm a father, it really comes into play. Just really everything I could think of during the day that I do, whether it's my routine and my training or just being the best person I could be is 100% relatable to wrestling.
You said something that's crazy to imagine, like how much of your life revolved around wrestling and your kids don't know anything about that life.
Yeah.
That's like they don't know any of that. Like 5-time Fargo champ, like you
Yeah.
compare like your 12-year-old, right? Like the amount of workouts you did compared to him by the time he was 12, like it's just so crazy that they don't know that unless you kind of like drop little nuggets on them like through over
Yeah.
time, right? You got to
No,
sprinkle it in because
exactly.
they don't care otherwise, right?
No, they don't know any better. They have no idea of the training I went through, and not that it has to be at that level, but I just preach, if you want to get to that next level, everybody's doing this much here, and as you get older,
Yeah.
we'll see where you want to be. If you want to be that good, you got to put the work in, so,
And
but
bro,
yeah, they don't know much about that life,
we need the workout plan for you, man, because you're keeping it together well into your
Yeah,
parenting years, man. So that
mid-40s,
workout
yeah.
routine, yeah.
Trying to get no dad bods here. I'm trying, so yeah. But yeah, no, I'm trying to get it, stay
Well,
after it.
Mark, thanks so much for coming on, brother. It's a real honor, and I really appreciate you taking time early on a Friday, brother.
Oh man, hey, I appreciate it. A lot of fun, man. Big fan.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it,
Have a
man.
great day, man. Take care.
All right, brother. You too, man.